Call the meeting to order, the September 9th, 2024 Shelby City Council meeting. Glad to have a good turnout of the public. Always appreciate members of the public be here. We're glad to have you. We will begin our meeting here, but before we get started, I would like to ask that you silence your technology, turn it to mute or turn it off so that we're not disturbed. We'll begin the meeting with the invocation. I've asked Councilperson Arth to lead us in the pledge. If you would, please stand for the invocation. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day, abundant sunshine and early fall weather. We come to you this evening, Father, asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord, as we make decisions that affect all the citizens of Shelby. And continue to remind us that all we do here today is for the pursuit of truth for the greater glory of you. We ask all these things in your precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Council will begin the meeting with the approval of the agenda. Before I ask for a motion, I do need to make note of several additions that staff has requested. Number one, the first change addition to our agenda from the published agenda is we have a item B, special presentation, which will be a presentation on the City of Shelby's comprehensive plan update. Next item to add that's been requested is item 6 under consent agenda. This would be item E6. This will be approval of a resolution supporting the nomination of the city manager as director of the Electricity's Board. And then the final item has been requested by our city attorney is to add an item under the closed session, which is to consult with an attorney employed regarding attorney-client privilege. So that would be item 3 under our closed session. So with those 3 additions, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as I have presented to you.
Make a motion we adopt the agenda with the additions.
I have a motion from Councilman Hopper to approve the agenda with the additions that I've outlined. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. All right, next item on our agenda is a special presentation on the City of Shelby's comprehensive plan update. Mr. Howell, who's going to introduce, or just anybody going to introduce it?
Yeah, thank you, sir. I'll just take a quick second to introduce Carol Williamson. He's with the Stewart team that's going through the process of the comprehensive land use plan update for us. I may be stealing a little bit of his thunder, but we've got 2 meetings next week on Monday and Tuesday. There's a board at the back. If anybody at the crowd's interested in coming out and supporting us there, we'd love to have you. It's also posted on Facebook. So he's going to give an overview of kind of what they've done so far and what they're going to be doing. And I'll turn it over to Carol.
Thank you, Justin. Mayor and Council, Carol Williamson representing Stewart, and our partner in this work is Boudreaux, and I'm here representing them tonight. And on behalf of them, I can tell you this is my 3rd time here in Shelby, and the entire team is very excited to get to work on this project. So we certainly appreciate the opportunity that you've given us. So tonight I'm just going to give kind of an overview of where we are and give you kind of an idea of what the next steps are and what all this this project entails, so you get a much clearer sense of what we have going forward. I'm going to start off just I'm going to give you kind of a synopsis of what I'm going to cover. We're going to talk about the steering committee, which you've already had 1 meeting with. It's been very informative. give you a kind of a community profile, kind of a lot of data that we've been gathering, trying to learn about Shelby and seeing where they are right now, and it's been very informative for us. And then some of the assets and the issues that Shelby has that will certainly be a part of this plan. And then explain to y'all what our community engagement plan is moving forward, so we get all the input we possibly can from the public to make this plan truly a representative of the community. And then just talk briefly about the next steps that are coming up. So, this is our team. Jake Petrosky is our principal with Stewart. And from Stewart, we have Jake, Andrea, and myself, and then and Stephen Faber, the landscape architect. And then from Boudreaux, we'll see we have Irene, Ryan, and George Schaefer. So you'll be seeing them as you come to public meetings. This will be who will be representing us. And then we've already had several meetings with staff, and it's just been really valuable and very welcoming to us. And we really appreciate everything the staff has done to this point, including giving us a long tour throughout the entire city and walking down through Uptown, and then the steering committee organization as well. It's just been a phenomenal experience so far. So I certainly appreciate staff's work. So this is a kind of broad schedule of what we have. I'm not sure how well y'all can see that from where you are, but so we're going to start off on the initiation and assessment. That's basically where we are right now, where we've done some of these things. We've had a community tour. We've had one steering committee meeting, and then we're scheduling stakeholder interviews where we're going to get feedback from a broad cross-section of the city. And we're also fine-tuning our community survey, so that will be going out hopefully by the end of this week is our goal. And then as we gather all this data, then we'll start putting together some plan and some goals that we feel reflects the community's vision. And so as those come together, we'll have some more public meetings to just kind of get an idea of like, are we on the right track here? What are we missing? And bring it back to the public to get more input. And then finally, implementation and adoption, we're shooting for June 2025. So you'll be seeing from us a lot in the next year. So we have the steering committee, which the staff put together for us, which we think is a good representative. This is a core group. So just so y'all have an understanding of what their responsibilities are, which is integral to the success of the plan, is that we're going to meet about 4 to 5 times during this process. A lot of it will be kind of preliminary, get feedback from them as we fine-tune our goals, and then we expect them to be very participative, give us lots of input. And the big thing is that we hope that the steering committee will be ambassadors for the plan as it comes together to the community, and most importantly right now, be ambassadors of the community to us and tell us, kind of give us good feedback. So it's been really good so far. So, what is a comprehensive plan? Just to kind of give you a general description of what we're doing. This comprehensive plan is long range, so it's going to address goals for the next 10 to 20 years. It's going to provide guidance to the city on land uses, the intensity of land uses, how land gets developed, and also give guidance to the staff and infrastructure improvements as Shelby grows. It's going to be collaborative. It's going to document community conversations, so that's where we are right now, trying to gather the input from the community. And one big thing that's just to point out is that this is a policy, but it's not regulatory. There's nothing that's going to come out of here that's going to be enforceable, but it will lay the groundwork for developing ordinances that can be enforceable. But this is kind of the foundation to get to that point. And just kind of to dovetail off that is what part of the comprehensive plan will include a future land reuse map, where we're going to just kind of say, okay, these are the general character areas of how land is being used, or we think the trend of where it will be used. And so it's just kind of a broad, this is generally industrial, this is generally commercial, this is generally residential or mixed use. And that's what will come out of the comprehensive plan. but the actual zoning ordinance, which I'm sure you're very familiar with, will actually establish the rules that would be enforced. So just to kind of make that distinction. The city has done an enormous effort putting together lots of plans, and that has been really informative for us. So we really appreciate the level of investment that's been put in from the leadership of the city for so long. And so we will go through these plans and try to see which ones need to continue on as goals in the comprehensive plan and which ones need to be tweaked. So we have been working on kind of a draft study area, because we have the Shelby city limits, but obviously the city can grow beyond those limits, and they have the extraterritorial jurisdiction. And so we just, as we've been studying and trying to learn, we've highlighted some other areas that we think would be worth including in the study area that are kind of beyond the borders of the extraterritorial jurisdiction area. And talking about like around the airport, and then the industrial area in the northwest, around the Highway 74 bypass, possibly where some interchanges may be, around Moss Lake, and then areas down the southeast where there's just large parcels and it may be an opportunity for growth in the future. But so those are just ones we've identified so far. So that's just going to be a part of the comprehensive plan. So then kind of shifting to what we've been learning so far about the city, we kind of rely a good bit on what the census provides. And so the population, we've looked at from 2000 to 2020. You've seen some increase, but I think it's noteworthy that in the previous comprehensive plan, the estimate was for a population around 24,000, and the city hasn't actually gotten there yet. But we think that based on all the growth that seems to be coming, we're experiencing that right now. It's just what we observe. And so I think it's just a couple of years late from what was originally predicted. And then we looked at kind of the age and the composition of Shelby based on that 2020 census. And that, several age groups have grown, but I think it's noteworthy that the number of young families and kids are declining. If you look at ages 0 to 9 and ages 25 to 44, if you looked on this graph at 2010 in gray and 2020 in red, and you see some decline there. But again, it seems to us that you have uptown and you have so many jobs in this area that this is something that's just kind of a blip that you will see it trending differently in the future. Shelby's median household income increased 34% since 2000. It's lower than Cleveland County's median household, but it's increasing at a higher rate. So that's something noteworthy about how much it's increasing. As is pretty common, predominantly you have single-family housing units, 72%, with not a whole lot of diversity. But I think as the population grows, you'll see demand possibly for some different types of housing. So it looks from the kind of historically how housing construction has gone in Shelby. It kind of went through a lull there from the 80s until about the about 2014 or so. But what we're seeing now as we're talking with staff is that you have over 5,000 new homes on the way in some different stage of whether it be conceptual to almost getting your CO. So in that range, there's over 5,000. So it's just a major change from what you're seeing on the graph here. And that's why we kind of think that there's a lot going on here that's not reflected from the 2020 census. So the median home value has continued to increase, but Shelby still has a good supply, it seems like, from what we found. But nevertheless, the median sold price jumped 10% in 1 year. So there's kind of a mixed message about how much supply there is versus how in demand the houses are and the price that people are paying for them. And then on economic development, I'm sure y'all study this a lot and are very well aware of it, but we looked at what they call the location quotient, kind of where Shelby stands, and we compared it to the state, and you see that manufacturing, retail, education, healthcare, and other services all exceed what's reflected in the state. So that's something that's a very impressive part of Shelby. And then looking at all the assets and issues that Shelby has, and so I'll just run through a collection of what we've identified, and I think you'll have some to add to this list as well. Just the cultural resources that you see here are just a great asset. And then Uptown itself. And I think with these assets, in order to keep it going and keep it maintained, there's become challenges. So it requires investment. And so kind of make sure all that is kind of incorporated into the comprehensive plan. The park system in Shelby is really impressive, and I know it's taken a lot of investment to get to this point, so that is certainly an asset. But again, to keep it, continuing to keep those parks up and add new trail systems and make that connectivity is certainly requires a commitment from council. And then the recreation. With the baseball and the trail system that's being developed are both great assets. And we've talked a lot about the population growth that's coming. It's a great opportunity, but certainly brings its own set of challenges as well. And then the industry and just generally the arts in Shelby are both great assets that bode well for the future. So that's just kind of a general overview of what we've gotten so far. So now I just want to touch on what we will be doing to get maximum public input. So we'll be having stakeholder interviews. I'm going to have a few later this month and some more in October. We're putting together a survey. Had one meeting with the steering committee, with several more throughout the year coming up. And as Justin referenced, we have public meetings scheduled for next Monday and Tuesday, so I hope all of you will be able to make that. And just wanted to add one more to that. We are going to try to have a little coffee discussion gathering on Wednesday morning, so in Uptown at Hive Coffee. So we look forward to that as well. Try to catch some of the coffee drinkers early in the morning on there. And then social media. Hopefully you all have seen the advertisement for these workshops, but we will continue to have it on front and center, and appreciate the staff for doing such a great job keeping the social media and keeping the public informed using that tool. So this is our advertisement for the visioning workshops. And this is where we'll have a lot of opportunity. We'll have boards kind of explaining the comprehensive plan and have some questions and opportunities for the public to kind of give their initial input as we prepare these goals for the city. And then, like I said, the stakeholder interviews. Got a pretty good cross-section. We're working with staff to kind of develop the schedule for this, but we're going to try to reach out to city, county government, transportation utilities, neighborhoods, churches. We're even going to talk to a group of students in the high school, the commercial and residential realtors, Uptown, all the merchants from Uptown, Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources, History and Tourism, and Public Safety and Services. So we think that that will give a good cross-section and feedback to us as we move forward on this. And then the survey, when we were just putting it together, but what you'll generally see are ways that we can ask questions that'll capture their concerns, what they value, what they consider to be the assets of Shelby, land use and development preferences, infrastructure priorities, and parks and open space, all things that touch the citizens in some way, and we want to hear what they think about it and how they think it should be moving forward. And it will be online, but we'll also have lots of paper copies, do the best we can to reach the maximum citizens. And then this just gives you an overview of kind of where we're going to be moving in the next year. We're continuing to do our analysis. There'll be a lot of mapping. We'll have several maps at these visioning workshops. And the visioning workshops will be September. Stakeholder interviews finish up in October. Continue to meet with the steering committee, survey, several public meetings. And then hopefully by late fall, I would say we would have some draft vision and goals, and we'll be working with the steering committee to develop those. And then fall and winter, we'll have some recommendations. And that's all I have. But I'd be happy to hear any questions you may have for us.
Thank you, Mr. Williamson. Any questions?
No, I just wanted to point out that like it says on there, the website that people can go to is cityofshelby.com/imagineshelby.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good presentation. We look forward to hearing more about this effort. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Cosby.
When is the Wednesday meeting?
Speak into the mic.
What time?
Mr. Cosby, speak into the
When
mic.
is the Wednesday meeting at the Hive going to be held?
We're just working on that, so it's probably going to be 8:30 or 9, but for about 2 hours. So we'll get that information out to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, our next item on our agenda is our public comment, and this is the time on the agenda that members of the public can speak on any issue that they would like to raise. We do have a limit of 3 minutes, and as I do have several folks who've signed up, so I do just ask that you, when I call your name, that you come forward to the microphone and state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. First one is Phyllis Williams.
Sorry, excuse me. Greetings, City Council and fellow citizens of Shelby, North Carolina. My name is Phyllis Williams. Of course, some of you may know me already. I am a volunteer chaplain here in our community.
State your address, Ms. Williams.
Sorry.
Ms.
My address is 1030 Sioux Lane, Shelby, North Carolina.
Thank you.
I'm standing here today as my role as a public health social worker. We have a public health concern that needs to be addressed. This evening, which is homelessness. 18.4% of our population whom our poverty status is determined in Cleveland County live with low poverty level, a number that is higher than our national average, which is 12.5%, according to our census. Some causes of this poverty is education, conflict, poor infrastructure, climate change, lack of jobs, governance, inaccessible health care, economic inequality, limited access to clean water resources, unemployment, discrimination, gender inequality, hunger, malfunction and stunning, social injustice, lack of reserves, corruption, low pay, disability, conflict and instability, food insecurities, poor economy, and most importantly, affordable housing. City of Shelby, I stand before you, along with all of our members in this community, to ask you what programs, support services can and will be put in place to help us in this community. The people need help, from our youth to our elders. I currently visited our central service office, and we have over At the end of last school year, we had over 433 homeless babies. That concerns me as a public health official. It all concerns me as well as within this last year, I have had 2 elders to die that were displaced from their homes in this community. I'm not sure what we can do as a community to resolve some of this that's going on, but I ask you to find in your hearts the proper things that need to be put in place for some of our people that cannot do it without the proper supportive services that need to be put in place. I also ask you to take the time out to consider, as if this was your family member, I ask you to join together with our community in love. God is love, love is God. And I ask you, if you guys are Christians, as I know a lot of us claim to be, can we help our neighbors as we help ourselves? Can we love our neighbors as we love ourselves? And I thank you all and have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you.
Gary Lay?
Gary Lay, 922 Surrey Drive. So, along with Phyllis, I've been working in the effort toward eliminating or at least putting a big dent in the homeless issue in this county, in this city, for some years now. And we've explored the issue from all angles. We've looked at it. What is it going to take? Why do people not realize the issue, how prevalent it is? Why is nothing being done, whether it be from the governmental agencies to the nonprofit organizations to the religious organizations, businesses, communities? It's just the effort is not being put forth in order to alleviate or at least to diminish the number of people that are on these streets. At first I thought, well, maybe it's just a misunderstanding of why people are on the streets. I've come across a lot of individuals when I first started this who were in active addiction, had behavioral health disorders or both, who either did not seek or sought but could not find the treatment needed to get them off of the streets and to get them clean, sober, and under the care of a doctor to try to deal with some of these behavioral health issues. As I increased as time went on, it wasn't just the person who was suffering from these issues. It was anyone. Just last week, I had a family, a mother of 3 kids. They have nowhere to go, period. And there's nothing that I could help them with. And I was ashamed. I'm from Shelby, North Carolina. This is where I was born. I was ashamed that it's come to this. We take care of our people here. This is my hometown. I was gone from here for about 18 or 20 years, and I would brag about how nice the people were there and that everyone was neighborly. I came back about 5 or 6 years ago and got involved with this effort, and I don't have an answer for them. I don't know. Where are the churches? I know that churches are providing lunches. Now, I'm not trying to disparage anyone here. Don't get me wrong. I know it's not easy. I know it's hard. But it is an issue, and it will not go away. Problems will still be there if you ignore them. They'll just get bigger. Something's got to give. We've got to take care of this before it gets out of hand. I don't think the people in Shelby realize how bad it can get out there. I mean, it can get real bad. We're not even close to how bad it can get. We have a chance to get ahead of this issue now. We have a chance, an opportunity. Some places don't have that. They're too far gone. We have a chance. And it's going to take governmental agencies. It's going to take the private sector. It's going to take the religious organizations. It's going to take community members. It's going to take everybody in Shelby working together for the common goal of providing these individuals with a chance.
Thank you, Mr. Lay.
Thank you.
Time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Michael McGirt.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. My name is Michael McWhird. I live at 2313 South Lafayette Street. I'm also a reentry coordinator and outreach worker for one of the largest, or the largest, sober living organization in the country called Oxford House. Since moving to this community 2 years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Lay, and we sat down and we discussed a lot of these things that are being discussed today, such as the homeless rate in this community, which is growing and has grown since I moved here 2 years ago. 2021 report, 30% of the homeless residents in this community reported having mental health issues. A large portion of that population also suffer from substance use disorder, alcoholism. Okay? The hospital here does not even have an opioid testing system for fentanyl, nor does it have an opioid reversal program. They have to send them to Kings Mountain. Now, I don't know about y'all. If you don't know anything about fentanyl, that is a serious, deadly substance. It's down to seconds when somebody goes out from fentanyl on whether they're going to make it or not. And if we're sending them 20 minutes to Kings Mountain, the fatality rate is extremely high, right? We have plenty of infrastructure in this town to be able to create some place with resources in-house for mental health, physical health, substance use disorder, job workforce training, things of that nature. These people that are on the streets once were tax-paying voters, right? And they can be again. It's up to us as a community, as a legislative body in this town, and as residents of this community to pull together to help those that are struggling. If we're not doing that, like Mr. Lay said, this problem is only going to get worse. And it'll get to a point to where it's out of control. When you have high homeless rates, what else do you have? You have high crime rates. Property crime goes up. Violent crime goes up because people will do what they have to do to get what they want or need, right? And that goes from substances, that goes from whatever. Most addicts, 7 out of 10 addicts, suffer from co-occurring issues with mental health from trauma. Right? It's also traumatic because I've been homeless. I'm also a man in long-term recovery and have celebrated, recently, 15 years of sobriety. I'm also formerly incarcerated for 12 years due to my addiction. Today, my life is spent fighting for those that can't fight for themselves. And I'll do that in this community as long as I'm in it, and I don't plan on going nowhere. Right? So as a community, we've got to address this situation. I have tried for 2 years to reach out in this community to get meetings with community leaders. I have failed and been unable to contact people. The State Department of Justice mandated here not too long ago that there be jail diversion programs in this county jail. Where are they at?
Thank you, Mr. McGirt. Appreciate your presentation. Tracy Norris.
Pastor Tracy Norris, 634 South Lafayette Street, Shelby. City Council, hello. My name is Tracy Norris. I'm representing the Chosen Generation House of Hope Outreach Incorporated and Royal Priesthood Biker Church for All People. We operate a sober living house here in Shelby, as well as we operate an outreach on Mondays at the church. We assist the homeless and displaced, and basically anyone that walks through our doors to complete food stamp applications, Medicaid applications, obtain identifications, Social Security cards, and we also help them search for jobs. And before they leave, we make sure they have a full stomach. We do this every Monday from 11 to 1, so I invite you at any time to come join us and see the community and be part of us. But can you imagine we're all about 1 or 2 paychecks away from being homeless? How many times have we put ourselves in their shoes and realized what they go through? I've heard so many people say, well, they choose to be homeless, or they're on drugs. Some of that is entirely not true. A lot of the homeless have mental illnesses, addictions, or past traumas that have affected their lives. We have to, as a community, to love on them and show them the love of Jesus. So let me ask you a question. We're riding around Shelby. How many empty buildings do you see? How many boarded up houses do you see? A lot. Those could be used for the good. There's so many possibilities in the town of Shelby that we can use. They could be sold to nonprofits, that can be used for assisting the less fortunate. But the drawback is, as with everything, funding. Not a lot of funding is coming in, or there's constraints on it. But there also can be success stories in working with the homeless. We have a House of Hope, and we have many success stories coming out of there. When people turn to God and off drugs, things happen. 4 of the guys living there now operate a full-time job. 1, he got his license back this year. So there are success stories for people that stay off drugs and do good. But the other problem, as we all know, housing is simply not affordable. We have to do something as a community, and we're not pointing fingers. Well, what can we do together for the homeless, for the mentally ill, and the addicted? There are a lot of churches that do feed them during the week, and we're not knocking anybody, but what are we doing to get them off the street? Last winter, we all know how cold it dropped down to. It got down to 15 degrees one night. Got a call from Gary, and he said, look, are y'all going to open up your church? And we did. We had an elderly grandmother and her grandson. They had nowhere to go. They had to stay in a car with little or less gas or choose to just freeze to death. So we did what we were supposed to do. As Jesus tells us in Matthew 25, verse 40, and the king shall answer them and say unto them, verily I say unto you, and as such as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, ye have done it to me. So we took the call from Gary, and we opened the church, and we housed over 17 people that night. We fed them, made sure they had a hot meal, and got them on their way the next morning. But imagine what more we could do if we all worked together.
Thank you, Ms. Norris. Brooke, no, I can't see the last name. Brooke, Angie Brooke.
So my name is Brooke Nicholson, and I am an owner of a downtown Shelby business, Angie Brooke Boutique. I'm here with another boutique owner, Mini Jean Design Company, Alyssa Gibbons. And we are proposing to have an event on our end of South Lafayette Street. I'm at 228. You'll be 232. And so we're really just here if you guys have any questions about the event. That's it. If you have any questions, just let us know. We're here for that.
Okay. Thank you. Elise Gibbons. Okay. Deborah Blackwell.
My name is Deborah Blackwell. I live at 1627 Woodlawn Avenue. We've been living there for about 11 years, me and my husband. And we've been trying to keep everything good in our neighborhood. And I'm just concerned about the Dollar General that's going to be put behind our house. I mean, it's going to be right behind us. And I really don't want it there, even though I rent my home from Myra, and I'm just don't want a Dollar General stuck right there behind us. We're in a little small community right there at Elizabeth Baptist, and I just appreciate it if y'all would just try to consider not putting one there, because we got Dollar Generals on every corner. And I've been to South Carolina, and I know they're everywhere. But I appreciate it if y'all would just reconsider not putting one right behind our house.
Okay, Ms. Blackwell, let me just clarify. We don't put stores in neighborhoods. That's not what our role is. Individual property owners decide what to do with their property. Now, there probably are some landscaping and issues to buffer your property from the Dollar General, so I would encourage you to maybe talk with our staff, planning staff, if you have some concerns about some of the
Okay.
buffering that might be occurring.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. All right, that is all we have for our public comment period. I would like to thank all of y'all. The homelessness issue is a very serious problem. I can tell you just personally, it weighs very heavily on my heart. And it is a very difficult problem, and it is something I hope we can continue to have some dialogue about this in the community, see if we can't start coming up with some solutions. But thank you all for coming tonight. It's very meaningful, and appreciate what you're doing. So thank you. Next item on our agenda is our public hearings. We have several scheduled here. First one is consideration of a proposed ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of Shelby.
Mayor, I would like to recuse myself of ordinance 54-2024.
All right, Mr. White has requested that he not be included, that he recuse himself from this because he does have you have an interest in this property. Is that correct, Mr. White? Okay. Do we need to take a vote on that, Mr. Attorney? No. Okay. All right. All right, who is going to introduce this, Mr.?
Thank you, Council. So this is the first of many public hearings tonight. I promise to try to go as quickly as possible, but stop me if you have any specific questions. So, these are out of order. Bear with me. I'm going to flip around to the correct one. It's going to be the last one. I know it. Oh, no, there it is. Okay. So we are looking at 215 North Post Road. This is located on Post Road near Fairground Street, if you guys know, generally speaking, where the Food Lion, the Fairgrounds, the 7-Eleven, that kind of area is where we're generally looking. It's approximately 2.3 acres currently undeveloped. The request is to rezone from residential R10 to the Corridor Protection District, which is a commercial district that allows for lighter intensity uses than, say, our general business or GB2. The current zoning shown right here, this is the residential R10. The purple you'll see is a lot of the GB that we mentioned. In speaking with the applicant, staff and the applicant sort of agreed that a lighter use down that road would probably be more appropriate, though, because the GB is really supposed to be more of the 74 primary corridor type zoning districts. Future land use map currently has that listed as residential medium density. Again, the summary is that they are looking to rezone from R10 to CPD. Staff recommends approval, and the Planning and Zoning Board also recommended approval, primarily on the premise that while it is different than what the future land use map recommends, the development patterns in recent years have shown that to be a primarily commercial road. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions? All right, thank you, sir. All right, we'll have our public hearing. I'll open the public hearing at 6:43. I have two folks who have signed up, so if you would, when you come forward, please state your name and address. Martin McMurray.
Good evening. My name is Marna McMurray, and I live at 317 Tremont Place in Shelby. And I'm here tonight to speak to the zoning. Thank you for allowing me to speak regarding the proposed zoning map amendment from residential to corridor protection district, to which I'm opposed. I have read the tenets of the corridor protection district, none of which seem to pertain to this situation. I've been told that the proposed use of the property in question is to build a chain-type discount store, the type that is proliferating across the county. I believe this construction fits more accurately with zoning designation Business 9.1.3 Part A, which states in part that it encourages convenience retail establishment. With the business district designation, the residents would be better able to understand what is actually going to be happening on the land. The parcel of land at 215 North Post Road is in the middle of the Elizabeth community, which has existed for over 100 years. It is bookended by Elizabeth Church, where both of my parents are buried, and Elizabeth School, which I attended until the 8th grade. It is a true family-oriented community composed virtually of all single-family homes. My husband and I own 2 lots on Woodlawn Avenue, which will adjoin the back of the parcel in question. I believe the neighborhood will experience increased foot traffic, vehicular traffic, litter, and possible crime, and disturbances which will negatively impact the quality of life in the Elizabeth neighborhood. In researching the evolution of chain-type discount stores, I became aware of a backlash from communities which have allowed their proliferation. They claim that the discount stores threaten businesses, particularly grocery stores, whose prices they undercut. This parcel is only 0.4 of a mile from an established grocery store which has served the community since the 1980s. A study in 2022 by Clemson University found that the presence of one of these discount businesses decreased property values by 16 to 21% between 2016 and 2019. Complaints lodged against the stores included that they created fewer jobs and pay lower wages, have poor labor practices, erode the community identity, have lacked security and thin staffing, and the buildings which are purpose-built are challenging to reuse. These are the reasons that I am strongly opposed to the rezoning at 215 North Post Road, and I believe it should remain a residential area. I also believe that Shelby could be a leader in new zoning ordinances that would stabilize existing neighborhoods and encourage locally owned and operated businesses which uplift the community and attract visitors to our beautiful city. I would like to thank the City Council for giving me this time to express my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McMurray. I apologize if I blow your name here. Tanya Stetson.
Hello, my name is Taryn Stetson, and we are with the applicant, TKC CCCLXXII LLC. Address is 4500 Cameron Valley Parkway, and I am here just to answer any questions we can.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I will close the public hearing at 6:48. Okay, let me close the hearing, and then we're in deliberation. Do you want me to call on you first?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I want to clarify, the local Shelby City Council rules actually do require for a vote of the council members upon the council member's refusal.
I thought so, too.
It's not a state requirement, it's just the local requirement. So
Okay.
I reviewed the local rules, I apologize for that. The local rules which you've adopted do require that vote. So
Okay.
you will need to take the vote on the refusal prior to taking any further motion.
Okay. All right. You all heard from the city attorney. Is everyone okay with Mr. White recusing himself? All of those in favor of allowing him to do that, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. All right. We're in deliberation phase, council, so you've got the materials in front of you. You've heard from the public. So
I'd like to make a motion.
go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to deny the zoning request at, I have to say the right address, sorry. What was it?
Northwest
Road.
It's on North Post
Yeah.
Road. It's parcel number 24083 at North Post Road.
And ordinance 54-2024, because it is absolutely not consistent with the surrounding area, backs up to cul-de-sacs, neighborhoods, and doesn't have any other of that type of business around it, and I believe it would stick out like a sore thumb. So
Okay. All
I
right.
believe it's unreasonable for those reasons.
All right. I've had a motion from Ms. Orr to deny the rezoning request. So a vote for the motion is to vote against the rezoning. So is there any further discussion about the motion? All right, all those, I'm going to ask for a show of hands. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. There's 2, 4, 2 for the motion. All right, all those against the motion, please raise your hand. So the motion failed. So the motion fails. Mr. Attorney?
I think that didn't meet the, has to be 60/40.
So the request has been denied, so it's a dead issue, correct?
The motion
To rezone has failed, so it's so.
My motion was to deny the rezoning.
I know, but the motion,
Failed.
that motion failed. That's all I'm trying to clarify. So our next step is, what I'm kind of struggling with is, I need to call for a motion. If for those that are against the motion, you would need to either make a motion to rezone and make a statement of reasonableness.
that would be for us.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the zoning request for the 2.3 acres on Post Road, although it is inconsistent with Shelby's adopted comprehensive plan. However, the zoning request is reasonable because the request is consistent with current development patterns. It's consistent with planned future use, and there's commercial nearby.
All right. I have a motion from Mr. Cosby to rezone the property with that ordinance number 54/2024 and with his statement of reasonableness. All right. All those in favor of the motion to rezone, please raise your hand. All right. All those who are opposed, raise your hand. Okay. It passes 3-2. Mr. Hopper, Mr. Weber, and Mr. Cosby voted in favor. All right. Thank you for that. Next item on our agenda is consideration of proposed proposed ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of Shelby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the previous rezoning was an applicant-initiated one. This rezoning is a city-initiated rezoning, as it is a city-owned property. It's located at 2215 Randolph Road. You guys may recognize this as the site of one of our shell buildings, our most recent shell building that was constructed. We're looking at approximately 60 acres. The shell building as well as some vacant parcels are included in this rezoning request. And we're looking to rezone from light industrial and R20 residential to general industrial. So as you guys see, the gray here is going to be the light industrial, and the yellowish green is that residential. The future land use map calls for sort of a mix. There's a residential medium density as well as low density residential. However, given the current situation with the shell building there, the development patterns would again work against that. So the summary of the request, again, is to rezone from light industrial and residential 20 to general industrial. The existing surrounding is light industrial and R20. Staff has recommended approval, and the Planning and Zoning Board has recommended approval, and we will need a vote and a statement of consistency.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Burgess. All right. I will open the public hearing at 6:54. And I have no one signed up, so I'm going to close the public hearing at 6:55. Council, we're in the deliberation phase, so
I'd like to make a motion.
all right. If you'd like to make a motion, go ahead, Mr. White.
Ordinance 55/2024, we approve it.
All right. And what is your statement of reasonableness?
It meets the criteria.
What criteria is that?
Property around it.
Clarify what you mean, Mr. White.
the surrounding, what I understand, it meets the surrounding areas and the construction in that area.
Okay, all right. Mr. White has made a motion and made a statement of reasonableness. And are there any questions about the motion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is consideration of proposed ordinance amending the zoning map of the City of Shelby. Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so this is a rezoning request from an applicant for South Lafayette Street for 3 separate parcels. It is just north of the DeKalb Street College Avenue intersection. We're looking at roughly 1.92 acres, and the request is to rezone from residential R10 to the Corridor Protection District. This is the aerial of the area, and it's kind of hard to see, but these yellow parcels are what are being requested to be rezoned. This sort of green zoning district surrounding the parcels in question is the Corridor Protection District. You guys have recently had a rezoning to go from residential to corridor protection due to the commercial growth that has already taken place there. The future land use plan does call for this to be commercial, so this request would be consistent. Again, you're looking to rezone from R10 to Corridor Protection District. The existing surrounding zoning is residential 10 and corridor protection district. Staff has recommended approval, and the Planning and Zoning Board has recommended approval, and the item does require a vote and a statement of consistency.
Any questions, Mr. Burgess? All right, thank you. I'll open the public hearing at 6:57. And I have no one signed up, so I'll close the public hearing at 6:58. Council, we're in the deliberation phase, so Chair will entertain a motion, or what is
Make a
your...
motion that we approve the rezoning at 1769 South Lafayette Street from, gosh, my notes are on the other page, sorry. R10 to Corridor Protection District, because it fits with our future land use map and surrounding development.
And this is regarding ordinance number 56-2024.
Yep.
So Ms. Arth has made a motion to adopt ordinance number 56-2024 and has made her statement of reasonableness. Is there any further discussion? All those in the favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is consideration of proposed ordinance amending the zoning map of the City of Shelby. Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are almost done, I promise. Okay, so this is a conditional rezoning, and these are treated a little bit more strangely than our base rezonings. Conditional rezonings by state law give you the ability to negotiate some conditions with the applicant. So if there's something specific, and I'm not trying to tell you what conditions might be there, but as an example, let's say you wanted to see specific landscaping or certain amenities or trails or things like that. That is something that you can request of the applicant. However, the applicant does have to agree to that in order for it to be a valid negotiation. It can't be something that you necessarily just force on an applicant. So the area that we are looking at for this conditional rezoning is right on the corner of Marion and Borders Road. So you guys know where Cleveland Mall is, just up the road from there, next to the Marion Ridge Apartments. The current zoning is R20. It is adjoined by R6 and general business on the backside there. The future land use map has a medium density residential suggestion. We're looking at roughly 46.14 acres. Like I said, currently R20. The applicant is proposing an R6CZ for a single-family subdivision. The future land use map, again, calls for medium density residential. The planning board took a little bit of time with this one. They voted on July the 18th to table and asked the applicant to revise the proposed plan to show some additional proposed features. Some of those features have not been provided, such as a detailed landscape plan. Some of those have been provided, such as the greater detail on the amenities, which was a sort of an ongoing conversation with planning board. Here is a map that shows the site layout. One thing to keep in mind is that when you are approving a conditional zoning district, the site map that you vote on is what is being approved. So within reason, that's what has to be constructed. Minor deviations can be made, very, very small, just kind of functional adjustments, but generally speaking, at the end of the project, this is what you should see developed. There are some proposed conditions on this. We're looking for roughly 160 single-family lots, which comes out to a density of 3.46 dwelling units per acre. The minimum lot size would be 4,500 square feet, which is standard for the R6 cluster. The minimum lot width would be 50 feet, again, standard for that R6 cluster. The developer has provided a traffic impact analysis, and they have agreed to be responsible for any traffic improvements that are specific at their sole cost. Sidewalks throughout the development and fee in lieu for Borders Road frontage has been proposed as a condition. All common open space has to be accessible via sidewalk and trail as required by our UDO. The building materials, which is normally something that the city does not have the authority to regulate, but as a condition we do, they have agreed to do their front elevations as brick or precast stone accents, and the rest will be vinyl or cementitious fiber plank. Minimum 20-foot driveway outside of the sidewalk, and that is consistent with the future land use map. So, a lot to unpack here, but generally speaking, they're looking to rezone from R20 to R6CZ. The existing zoning is R6, R20, and general business. The Planning and Zoning Board did recommend approval with the caveat that attention be paid to a landscaping plan, although some of those details have not been provided to staff yet. The item does require a vote and a statement of consistency, and for conditional rezonings, the council has the option to approve as presented, approve with modifications that have to be agreed upon by the applicant, deny or return to the planning board for further review.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Burgess? Do you know why the applicant has not provided the additional information?
My understanding is they're working with a landscape architect, and the
Okay.
applicant is here to answer any questions if you have any, but they're working with a landscape architect, and I'm not sure if time was a factor there.
Okay,
So.
thank you,
I think
Mr.
we
Burgess.
need to wait.
That's what I was going to say.
We need to
Well,
wait.
No, we have to
we
do
need to do the
public
public hearing.
hearing first.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. All right, I'll open the public hearing at 7:03. Now we're in deliberation, so Mr. White, if you'd like to say something.
I think it needs to be approved by planning and zoning.
Yeah, I was going to suggest we table it.
One at a
till
time, one at a time. So,
And I would say, I plan on tabling it. I would like to.
okay.
then. So it meets the conditions that planning and zoning wanted it to.
Yeah.
All right.
Wanted to.
All right, who's going to make the motion?
I'll go ahead and I'll make a motion that we table it because it does not meet all the criteria requested by planning and zoning.
I apologize. We have not closed the public hearing. That's my bad. I opened the public hearing and I did not let the
Gotcha.
gentleman come speak.
Oh, okay.
Hold your thought.
Mr. Mayor, just point of order here. The Planning and Zoning Board did recommend it, but asked council to consider the landscaping requirements. So just for clarification.
Good, thank you.
Right.
All right, I kind of got off track there. 7:03, we opened the hearing, so I believe the applicant has signed up. Todd, and I apologize, your last name?
Good evening. Todd Dupina, 8307 Hampton Fair Lane. I wanted to point out the landscape detail that was requested has been added to the front page of the submittal. On the second page that has our conditions listed, we blew it up even further to provide additional detail. So it's a planting section that shows a 100-foot planting section that would be repeated consistently throughout our buffer. So we felt like we had met the requirement that had been requested by the planning board. So if there's any further questions about that, I'm happy to answer. We felt like we had submitted and provided the information specifically on the second page because I didn't feel like the kind of area that was added on the top of the front page was conspicuous enough.
Has it been approved by planning and zoning?
Wait.
Hold on. We're not asking. Thank you. You have anything else?
I'm here for any other questions you
Okay.
may have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:05. Now we're in deliberation. Mr. White, did you have something you wanted to ask or say?
Okay, yes, I think we need to wait till it gets approved by planning and zoning and let them bring it back to us.
All right, is that a motion from you to?
That is a motion.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. White to table the matter and that it be sent back to planning and zoning for their review. All right, everybody clear on the motion?
Yep.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Since we have not, the next item that we have on our agenda is consideration to extend the corporate limits. So since we have not taken action, do we need to still have the public hearing? Mr. Burgess is saying no. Is that correct?
You do not, but you need, I think, to take action to table the matter.
Okay. So the next item on our agenda is consideration of ordinance to extend the corporate limits of the city of Shelby. We do not need to hold the public hearing, but we need to take action to table the matter. Is everybody clear on that? So,
Yeah.
Mr. Hopper?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we table ordinance number 58, 2024.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Hopper to table ordinance number 58, 2024 until we get additional information. Any more questions? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it's unanimous. Thank you. A lot to get through there.
Yeah, it is.
All right, consent agenda. Our next item is our consent agenda, and I will review these. Number one is approval of the minutes of a regular meeting. Number two is adoption of a fiscal year 24-25 budget ordinance amendment number one. Number three is adoption of a budget ordinance amendment for the City of Shelby's Depot project. Number four is adoption of a budget ordinance amendment for the City of Shelby City Park pool renovation project. Number five is approval of a resolution recognizing Public Power Week. Number six is approval of a resolution supporting the nomination of City Manager Rick Howell as Director of the Electric Cities North Carolina Board of Directors. Number seven is approval of special event applications falling for Shelby, Mush Music Mutts Festival, and that is all we have for our consent agenda. So those 7 items are on your consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we adopt the consent agenda.
I have a motion from Mr. Weber to adopt the consent agenda as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. We have no unfinished business. We have no new business. We're down to the city manager's report. Mr. Howell.
Yes, sir. I will be sending out a email copy of the report, and I'm not going to really touch on anything tonight. I have asked Mr. Longino to give council an update on the Webley project as well as the City Hall chambers, windows, and doors project. So, Mr. Longino.
I see Mr. Nura there, and I'm thinking, did something happen there?
Go ahead,
Glad
Jim.
to get back.
I'm going to turn it right over to you, my friend. Thank you, sir. So as Mr. Howell said, just want to go through a couple quick updates on the Webley project and the council chambers renovations. We'll start with historic Webley. So just wanted to show you all this timeline, which I think you may have seen before. This is from the Development Finance Initiative Group. They put this together, and as you can kind of see, we're at the midpoint there where that line is. Actually, as of this morning, I can move that line just a little bit because Clearscapes, the architecture firm that we're working with, came out with a contractor that they work with to assess a few more things on the Webley. So we're a little bit further along, but we're well into that site assessment and redevelopment scenarios item that you can see there. And then DFI has started some stakeholder engagement and some of the financial analysis as well. So as we work through that, you'll see later in the process, we'll start to have some staff and council discussions, and then DFI hopes to come to you all to present probably later in November, sometime in that time frame. But the most recent thing I want to talk about is that we got a 17-page structural report from Clearscapes and the contracting firm that they used that came out, and they went all over Webley, underneath, on top, in all the nooks and crannies. So again, this is just kind of a highlight of those 17 pages of the evaluation that they did. Still doing that evaluation. Again, they came out and then they brought out a contractor this morning to kind of further assess those things and see what would need to be done structurally and what's going to kind of expand that scope a little bit. So we'll take that information and evaluate what both of those sources say. Hope to come back to you all to sort of get some feedback and some guidance. One of the things that we've talked about is sort of targeted demolition, which is actually if there's like a floor that they can't get underneath, do we take out part of that floor to actually be able to see what the structure looks like underneath? So do we want to explore some of those routes, or do we want to kind of hold back and see what things might come to fruition when we start renovation down the road? So we've got some multiple paths forward with that. Another thing that we're sort of looking at is this top part is actually the original 1847, I think is maybe the right date, the original structure. This part down here, which is sort of the addition off of the back, was built in 1906-07. This was built better than this, basically. So this is in worse shape. It actually has some more structural concerns. So that'll be part of the evaluation. Is how much do we want to make how much do we want to take on when we start those renovations? So again, that'll be part of the evaluation that we'll come back to you all and kind of assess and talk through. We have multiple avenues forward with some of those different scenarios as we, again, kind of work through this timeline and explore those different things. So all of that will tie into those discussions, along with some feedback from the stakeholder engagement and what the future use of the site could be and what we see as the vision going forward. I'll pause there on Webley and see if there's any questions before I move on.
Question, just so I'm clear, the goal right now is just to get it stabilized. It's really, is that right? So the structural evaluation, what can and should be done, is
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. That would stabilize the structure, get us basically a shell that is structurally sound that we could start to move forward with.
Are there any holes in the roof? Is the roof falling in?
There are some holes in the roof. Our public works crew has done some repairs to try and stop that.
Good.
It's fairly sound, but again, there is water that gets in. I mean, some of it is actually it's not the roof, it's actually below the roof line where there's some leaks and things getting in. So we've tried to stabilize it as best we can, but yeah, there are some issues that still exist.
Okay.
All right.
Keep going.
Okay. So wanted to touch on the council chambers renovation real quick. So two maps up here. First is what's existing on the right. The red dashed lines sort of show what would be worked on during the renovation, and then on the right side is what the new layout would be. So I'll just talk through those real quick. Starting in the top left corner, you'll see that the closet that is behind the dais in the council room, which really houses just HVAC equipment right now, the HVAC equipment would be moved into the ceiling. That closet would actually be expanded. The bathroom moved forward. Our goal with this space is to have something that's more flexible. So with that, we need some more storage space for some of the tables and chairs and things that might go into that room. So that closet being expanded with the HVAC moved out would help with that. Still wanted to maintain the restroom and then the small area behind the main meeting space there. If we sort of move down here, there's a restroom. This is actually the women's restroom that's off of the lobby. It's currently not ADA accessible, so this would sort of punch that bathroom into a closet that exists in the HR office, would enclose it and give it the space needed to be ADA accessible. And then moving up into the top corner, we would actually reduce the size of the men's restroom. There's too much space in that one. And we'd have a little more room in the foyer to open things up there. So that's sort of the basic layout changes that we've been looking at. That has been sent to the interior designer. It's the same company, Free Space, that worked on this building, the airport, I believe the Don Gibson Theater. So she is working through some of the designs that we've had discussions about as far as what the interior would look like. At the same time, we're looking at the audio-visual layout, the lighting changes in there so that everything can kind of be brought up to a more current standard from an AV perspective, but also having the lighting be better and just a better overall.
And the air conditioning that doesn't make a lot of racket when it comes on and off.
Yes, sir. That's on the list as well.
That's the only thing that woke me up.
At least you're honest.
So we're working through those changes right now. Again, interior design concepts are about halfway done, I think. We're pretty close to the AV equipment layout being done. I wanted to mention that we are in the early stages of exploring the windows and doors replacement. I know we've discussed that recently, and then I think further back we discussed that when the roof project was taking place, but the roof was a little over budget, so I think the windows and doors got wiped. So we've started exploring implementing that project into this project, integrating that project into this project, rather. The architect we're working with recommended rolling those two projects together. So again, sort of exploring that as we've been exploring the Chambers project, and we'll bring a recommendation back to you all for those.
Questions? Are we going to be able to see the final design?
Oh, yes, of course.
Unless you want us to surprise you.
No.
No, I just want to make sure that that's on the record, that y'all are going to share that with us before it gets done. Okay.
We'll allow you to draw it if you'd like.
No, that's okay. We trust you. No, I couldn't do it either. But no, this is good news. I'm glad to see things are moving.
I'd love to be able to fit my knees underneath the desk.
Do we have a timeline of when we can expect to be back in our council chambers?
So my hope is that we will have a contract to bring to you all to award in December after bidding and construction documents, and then construction is estimated to take about 120 days. So I'm thinking March, April timeframe, 25.
120 days.
That's what I've been told.
Okay, good. Sounds a little aggressive to me, but if that can happen, that's good news. All right. Are there any more questions? Everybody good?
We're keeping the big North Carolina thing, right?
Oh, sorry. These are the things that are going, and
No.
then we'll have some designs we'll bring.
I
to
think
you.
let's that's
I know.
Well, I think it's a valid question and issue. And that's the reason I asked that question about what we're going to actually get.
Parts of the,
Yeah, some parts, very small parts.
right.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, we're down to council's announcements and remarks, and so you do have a list here of things that are coming up. The softball tournament's going to be out at the park, employee picnic on September 25th out at the park, and so make note of that. Is anyone else? Obviously, Mr. Hopper, you got anything? Oh, Mr. Hopper's got something to share with us tonight.
Yes.
I'd like to call on him to share with us a little something.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, I'm on the executive committee with the American Legion World Series, and I think this is very nicely done. They had these portraits made, and they wanted to present one to the city of Shelby, and hopefully they'll hang it somewhere prominent here at the city hall.
Very nice.
This is a representation of the 2024 World Series, and as you know, Mr. Manager,
Yes, sir.
the Golden Knights are prominently displayed. United States Army Golden Knight parachute team is prominently displayed in the middle.
And they're jumping out of.
Point that out.
Yes, sir, Mr. Hopper, I have an idea for the perfect place for that. It will be prominently displayed, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Showing pride in the U.S. Army.
Thank you, Mr. Hopper, and please share our appreciation to the rest of the board. That's a very nice gift. We appreciate it. Very nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Weber, do you have anything for us?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Mr. Crosby.
Good.
I just wanted to reiterate that website for people, cityofshelby.com/ what was it again?
Imagine Shelby.
Imagine Shelby, thank you. It was a long meeting. And that the public input meetings will be Monday at the city park from 5 to 7 and Tuesday at Hollyoak Park from 4 to 6. Wednesday morning, 8:30, 9-ish at Hive Coffee. And that our last comprehensive land use plan was adopted in 2009, and the decisions we make are,
Very important.
That's very, very outdated, and so we really need people's input so that we can make decisions based on what people want now. So don't miss those meetings.
Ms. Bullock, you got anything for us? All right, everybody's good? All right, we'll move on to our closed session, and we do have 3 items that have been requested. Number one is this is a closed session to establish or instruct the public body staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken on or behalf of the public body in negotiating the price or other material terms of a contract or opposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A5. Number 2 is to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other business in the area served by the public body, including the agreement and on a tentative list of economic development incentives that may be offered by the public body in negotiations pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A4. And the third item is to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body. Privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3. Mr. Lunsford, are that's all 3 of those items sufficient to go into public closed session?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
All right. You've heard from our attorney. Do I have a motion that we go into closed session?
I make a motion, we go out of regular session into closed session.
Have a motion from Mr. White to go into closed session. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous.